Both our presenters, Julie Fry and James Catterall, have given us a wonderful perspective on programs that are changing our entire way of looking at creativity, teaching creativity, getting it out to everybody. This clearly is going on at levels where people are starting new kinds of programs like James Catterall to focusing on supporting other people's programs at national levels. And these are going to change our ability to get the arts and get creative programs to our students. Rather than try to summarize the key points, which I think you all got anyway, what I thought I'd do is address a couple things I didn't hear and in some cases haven't heard at all so far. Because I think one of the ideas that we were told last night is we're supposed to create some sparks and a little creative dissonance and get people thinking in new ways. So that's what I'll try to do here. One of the things that I think the arts do that I haven't heard anybody mention so far, which is very different from virtually any other subject, at least as we teach it in our schools today, is that it helps students find problems. Students in most subjects are given problems. When you walk into an arts arena, you discover new problems. You may invent your new problems. You might want to call them challenges instead. But that's one of the beauties of art, is it allows you to take what you know of the world and transform it in a new way because you bring something new to it that no one else has ever done. I can't do that when I'm teaching science students. They don't know enough to bring anything to the science to find a new problem. But you ask somebody to make art and they immediately do that. So one of the things I'm missing here is evaluation of problem finding or challenge raising. And I think that's really critical, whether it's individual or group. How do people go about doing that? What are students doing when they're involved in that creative process in the arts? A second one is creative process. Everybody's taking their programs and evaluating them in terms of outcome. And I think everybody in the creativity world knows that if we look at creativity as products, then products are domain specific. But if we look at creative processes are extremely generalizable. So one of the things that we did in Michigan, I was actually one of the co-chairs, and by the way, I'm also a scientist, so this is very odd to be a co-chair of the Arts Education Curriculum Committee. And what we ended up deciding to do was to evaluate all of the arts education, not in terms of outcomes, not in terms of the curriculum that everybody was going to write on their particular, music, art, whatever it happened to be at each different level, but on how well they got through to the students the creative process in that particular art. And that meant going in and finding the problem or the challenge, coming up with multiple solutions. This could even be when you were, just playing in the band. Did the band leader ask the band to think about, is there another way we can interpret that music? What happens if you play it faster? What happens if you slow it down by half? How does that interpretation change the way that music means something? So that process then became the evaluation. And this was a real challenge for most of the artists because they'd never thought about anything other than, is the kid drawing well? Did they put on the performance at the end? Those kinds of things. But now they had to engage the students in every single step of that process. So if you're putting on a play, what is this character actually trying to get across? How are they trying to get it across? How are you going to interpret that line? How do you act it? Everybody has an input and they think about all the options. Okay, so that's a very different way, I think. And the final thing I think is important is each of the groups we've seen here is evaluating their program in terms of their own goals. But is that really what we need to be doing? So what I'd like to suggest is actually there are 4 groups that we need to be convincing in order to get arts or creativity or both into the general education. That's parents, school administrators, boards of education, and legislators. And I don't think we know what any of those groups actually want or need in terms of evidence to convince them all to get together and push for what we're advocating here. Until we know what they want and what kind of evaluations they will accept and what kind of data will convince them that this is important, we're evaluating the wrong things.